Finding the flaws in the ravings of psychosexually schizophrenic lunatics is about as easy as shooting fish in a barrel, and half of the fish have already shot themselves. Before we dive headfirst into the delusional minds of those that support and perform pathological cosplays of the opposite sex, driven either by their sexual fetishes or complete divorce from reality, let's have a little history lesson of the origins of this ideology and the geriatric queers that invented it, which is being taught to your children in the preschool classroom. In 1955, John Money, who coined the phrase gender referring to anything other than grammar, took gross advantage of two grieving emotionally and mentally unstable parents after their firstborn son had his penis burnt off in a botched circumcision. He groomed and molested the boy named David Reamer, forcing him to mimic sex acts with his kid brother, who developed psychosis from the experiments. Unable to cope with what the pedophile had done to them, they both painted the walls with their own blood at a young age. Before that, though, the idea of fluid sex originated in Weimar, Germany, where Magnus Hirschfeld cross-dressed little kids and wrote about how boys should be in pederast relationships with older men. He also coined the term ebophile. And then, one day, for no reason at all, the German people voted into power.
Trans children are perfectly made in their authentic skin.
And to prove it, we're going to take that authentic skin off from their thighs and sew it to a piece of rubber, with ligaments ripped out of their wrists to make a Frankencock, so that they could be altered from the state that they are naturally into being who they truly are through some Buffalo Bill-esque skin suit surgery. This freak's Buffalo Bill skin suit is so poor that he had to go digital. Now, let's check the bio.
Comms Catholic for Choice, writer, lesbian, army vet, Texan, Hoya, she, her, @Schumann Project 19, Rep, Lynn Johnston, lit, alum, HRC inquiries, CMCclimber, gmail.com, #Black Lives Matter.
Alright guys, we can't see anything negative about this autogynephiliac. He's a veteran and fought for our freedoms, representing what America is truly about. For Father Brian Massingale, imagining God as black and gay helped him realize that it's not God which is the problem, but the church. No man can serve two masters, for either he will hate the one and love the other, or else he will hold to the one and despise the other. Ye cannot serve God and HIV. From the account, May is a mentally ill basket case. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Denying necessary health care to a political minority is, by definition, genocide. I agree. We are denying these reprobates the health care they need, and reaffirming their delusions is causing them to commit suicide 42% of the time, and end entire bloodlines because we're rearranging society to make it a Potemkin village where you aren't a castrated maggot with a shriveled up penis and 2 rubber bags sewn in your chest. If it wasn't for Ronald Reagan, the loony bins these people belong in would still be around, and they would actually be getting the help that they need. Now, let's take a look at what a well-adjusted, mature member of society is like.
May, she, her, very trans and queer, and com programmer, musician. I'm adult years old. DMs open. Rat. P. Ori Otter. B. 18 plus. Batnaps.
This would be the first bill of its kind to pass in any state ever. It will completely bar gender-affirming healthcare for trans youth and bar public insurance coverage for trans people of any age. Yes, you read that right. Every major medical association supports this healthcare, which is a problem in itself. Banning trans kids from getting this treatment, which would force some youth to go through their endogenous puberty, which would cause unspeakable and irreversible harms. This multi-million-dollar NAMBLA-defending conglomerate with legions of lawyers ready to take parents to court because they wouldn't pay for their children to be destroyed by synthetic hormones and money-hungry doctors wants you to believe that the body going through the natural process of puberty causes irreparable and unspeakable harm, and that the only way to save the poor soul who was born in the wrong body is to interrupt this process, which occurs around 10 years old, with pharmaceuticals that give the child osteoporosis and causes organs to be undersized. They will further sell that this type of good damage is reversible through the introduction of more man-made hormones that they can charge for and make money off of. A lifelong consumer whose identity and existence can only be validated through never-ending patronage. Trans children are perfect exactly as they are. I agree, as long as children are not allowed to medically alter their bodies in a manner that is irreversible.
Well, I was gonna let my kid get earrings, but I guess you've talked me out of that.
Ignoring the child whose morality boils down to nothing more than consenting adults, above the even bigger child who is suffering from terminal Marxism, you can see the natural conclusion of an ideology that forces a rift between the sexes and the organs and distinctions that make them what they are. The sex organs have become interchangeable and meaningless, having no significance, and become ideologically vestigial and worthless. The organ which represents a human's most significant power of giving life and creating the next generation is no different than that of an earlobe to a Marxist. Destroying a child's life, ruining their bones and organs, and having them live out the rest of their life as an inferior mockery of the opposite sex to them is no different than having their earlobe pierced. From the ADL. Historic. Congratulations to Assistant Health Secretary Dr.
Dead name.
Levine, who is now the first openly transgender federal official to be confirmed by the Senate. Everyone deserves to see themselves reflected at the highest levels of government. Reminder that the ADL was founded to protect a pedophile named Leo Frank that raped and murdered a 12-year-old girl. And now, over 100 years later, they're protecting the supposed honor of the freaks that identify with the life-destroying practice invented by pedophiles. Leo Frank, Rachel Levine, John Money, Magnus Hirschfield. What do these names have in common?
Shut it down.